The person I chose to interview is Ana Barbosa. She is 70 years old and she is my great aunt.
Okay.
Are you or were you married and did you have a family? Describe the family.
Family is marrying someone that you love, and as a result of that, bringing children into the world that you can love, and they love you back, and it's something that you work your life for those children. It's no longer for you or for your husband, it's but for your children. And in doing that, you teach them to be a good person, to try and be a caring person, so that when they see someone that has a need of some kind, that they can offer to help them.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Bakersfield, California on August 2nd, 1948.
Are you the first generation to be born in the U.S.?
No, actually, I'm second generation born in the U.S. My
So your
parents were born here.
Okay.
Hmm?
What do you remember about November 22nd, 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated?
I remember being in high school. I was a sophomore, and we were changing classes. The bell had rung, and we were going to go to our following class when all of a sudden people were crying and yelling, and it was kind of confusing to find out what was going on until they announced it over the speaker that our president, John F. Kennedy, had been assassinated in Texas.
Many people have said that hope in America died a little that day. Do you agree with that? And how did America change?
I do, because we thought we were a country that respected each other, that we were safe, and we came to find out that we were not as safe as we thought we were. We felt very secure, but by doing that, killing our president, which was something that we had never lived through before, it was very shocking, and we became very insecure, and we didn't have as much trust in people as we did before.
How about the Vietnam War? Do you think America lost trust in federal government by the end of the war? And if so, has this trust ever been won back?
I can tell you a lot about the Vietnam War because my husband was in Vietnam, and he was not a U.S. citizen. He was a permanent resident, and at that time they said they were not going to take residents, they were going to take citizens. Well, they took him to Vietnam, which was one thing that I was not happy about. And the way that the things were, it was not even a war. It was a conflict. It wasn't a declared war. It was a fight amongst the Vietnamese and Korea and, the people in that part of the nation, which was not an attack directly on the United States. So a lot of men and women died in that war, which was very sad. And I don't think the trust was won back because the fact that when they came back, they were not treated with respect. They didn't welcome them back. They blamed the Vietnam soldiers for the tragedies that happened in Vietnam when it was not their fault. And it wasn't until recently that people began to recognize the sacrifice that not only the soldiers but the families made to fight that conflict.
Okay. How do you think the world's perception of the United States changed on July 20th, 1969, when we put the first men on the moon?
I think that was kind of an eerie thing, meaning it's hard to believe that someone could actually go to the moon. There weren't anything that they had done before to say, oh well, yeah, they just hop in a rocket and shoot them off, and there they go. So it was very interesting, and there's still some people that don't believe that ever happened. They say, I think they made it up. So it's kind of an unusual situation.
Okay. How do you think the world looked at the U.S. following Nixon's resignation on August 8th, 1974, in response to the Watergate scandal?
I think that the nation finally came up and stood up to what they saw was wrong. Just because he's a president doesn't give them the right to do a lot of the things that they do. They're not above the law. If they break the law, as we see now what's going on with our president, but if they stood up to him and they impeached him and got him out of office to keep us safe from other things that he was doing.
In what way do you think our nation changed on November 9th, 1989, when the Berlin Wall came down, effectively ending the Cold War?
I think that was awesome. I think that as countries, we should not build barriers around us. We should try to live together. We should try to be helping each other out, trying to survive, not trying to compete to be the best and the most evil place. So when President Reagan went and they removed that wall, that was like freedom, especially because that wall divided the East and West Berlin.
Yeah. What do you remember about September 11th, 2001, when the country experienced a terrorist attack on the Pentagon and World Trade Center?
I got up that morning and I was getting ready for work and I had the news on TV. When I saw that, I thought, this seems like the end of the world. It seems so eerie, so scary to see that they attack flat out. You think of terrorism, other countries, and that it only happens to them. And reality hit home. It can happen to all of us, and we have to be prepared. And unfortunately, there were so many that died, and we personally know people that we know that were in the towers at the time that it happened. And there's always that fear. You don't feel like you're safe walking even in your own streets in your own country because of the terrorism.
Finally, it is said every American citizen has a dream, be it wealth, happiness, a better life for their children, etc. What was your dream, and do you think you achieved it?
My dream is to have the freedom to be able to choose, to freedom of religion, freedom of expression. There are people that take that freedom of expression way beyond by saying things that are hurtful, that are evil in a sense, because they talk bad about people and they feel because they have the freedom of expression, they're entitled to do that, to degrade people, to put them down, to say lies about them. Oh, I'm free to say whatever I want. But that wasn't the intent. You were able to express yourself. You can choose your own religion. You can make choices for yourself without the control of the government. And they've taken that way beyond what it was meant to be.
Okay. Well, on behalf of my teacher, thank you. And on behalf of me, thank you too.
Yeah, good luck.
The event I believe has had the greatest impact on our nation has been Barack Obama being elected president. I believe this because he changed a 350-year-old era of segregation and racism along with the Jim Crow laws, and he left behind race issues amongst most blacks and whites. He ended the war in Iraq, and he did a lot for the children of immigrants as well as immigrants themselves. He also won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009 for extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people. Finally, after a year of studying the history of our country, I see myself as an ordinary American citizen. I don't have plans on becoming the next president or the next big it, so I just plan on becoming a teacher. As a U.S. citizen, I hope to accomplish just my goals, my dreams, to live my life. My American dream is to get married, to own a home, own a car, have some children, And that's about it. Be educated. Encourage my children to be educated. Yep.